How the heck are everybody? I am Fastidious. Welcome back to my channel, and a huge welcome to an icon in the space, the fantastic, the real hero in Watcher of Realms, Ash. How you doing, Ash?
Easy, Fastidious, easy. I'm doing great, man. I appreciate the kind words, all jokes aside, man. And I have to say, I was gonna say first time collab, but second time collab now. And I have to say, thank you for what you just did on my account. We just recorded a video where you helped me out tremendously, and all your content is the same way. And B, I love you. You probably hear this all the time, but I love the how the frick are you guys? I love, or how the heck, sorry. I love your intro, man. I love your intro. It's like, I'm sure your viewers feel the same way, but it's a great solid intro. You get a little raspy, you get in there. It's how the heck are you, everybody? I love it, man.
Yeah. I've lived many hard years to earn this voice. No, thank you so much.
Very old man of the sea or whatever. So I don't know. You gotta let some grunty stoic wisdom coming at you.
You know, I used to do a lot of Sam Elliott impressions. If anyone knows that cowboy actor when I was younger, maybe it rubbed off on me.
Indeed.
I will say, I appreciate
There you go,
that.
man. There you go.
I hope people like it. I certainly hope people don't hate it. And it's just something I made up on my first video ever, and I'm glad it stuck in one way or another. So thank you, sir. And it's a great time to mention we did just film quite the monster of a video on your channel, just combing through every little corner of that account. I think it was a lot of fun. So if anyone for some reason wasn't going to watch it anywhere, or for even a crazy reason doesn't know who Ash is, please go check that out. All the links will be below. But Ash, we got a light topic to touch on, right? It's not such a big thing to discuss. Yeah. So the game's rigged, right?
It is 100% rigged. I think that's it, right?
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Share it with your mother.
Take it easy. We'll do this again sometime. Bye.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
But I guess people thought that it was rigged, right? My last summoning or something?
Yes, so if we missed it, we'll cue a clip right now.
Okay, another one! Oh, another one! Dude! Admiral Claw! Another one! Durza! Okay.
There you go, guys. Ash pulled 3 legendaries on ancient summons in one temple, so naturally, instantly, I spend way too much time streaming on both YouTube and Twitch. Go check it out. Everyone's like, Ash's account is rigged now, right? So we had to address the elephant in the room. That, of course, it is rigged. He's in cahoots with Shanghai. So what is your official statement, sir?
Well, my official statement is, first of all, I want to be 100% real, and that I am 99.9% sure it's not rigged. However, for all I freaking know, some Moonton developer is rigging every creator's account. I want to keep a little bit of tinfoil left in my hat because I've been covering mobile games for 10 years. Since day one, people told me that it was rigged in favor of me. No matter what the game was, they'd find a way to say why. But I don't think, with a lot of them, I know it's not rigged. With a lot of games, I don't think it is personally. I think it comes down to a few different things. One is just human psychology, right? If things don't go well for you, you want to, I don't want to say blame or find an excuse, because it's not like that. We don't think of it that way, right? But instead, we want to point at examples of other people who got lucky or whatever it may be, right? So I think that sometimes just psychologically, it's like, yeah, dude, of course he gets that. I've never gotten that. But they forgot that I've opened 500 ancient summons on my account, in total, right? And that was just the last 10, and granted that was very lucky, but they don't remember the L's, right? And
Totally.
You remember the big pulls. The other thing is that, not with me and not with you, because we talked about this, off air, I think it's incredibly important that creators out there even upload their bad summons, their bad pulls, right? I flirted with this idea. I actually didn't post a video, and I talked about it years ago on my raid video, because I pulled like sacred shards, basically like these expensive, there's legendary summons, essentially. $20-$25 each is how much they cost. I opened like 8 and I got nothing. Not only did I get nothing, but I just got like crappiest champions in the game. So I didn't upload it, and then I asked my audience in like the next video, like, would you have liked to see that or whatever? And I just didn't want to do it because I thought it was crappy content, But then the feedback taught me a valuable lesson. As I said, this is like when I was starting out in raid, so it was quite a long time ago, but it taught me a lesson that it's so crucially important for creators out there to post their crappy summons as well. They're crappy shard openings as well, because otherwise you are doing a giant disservice to your audience.
Absolutely.
And really a giant service to the pocketbook of or the wallets of your the developer, right? Because then you are portraying a very inaccurate or unreasonable expectations for your audience, and you're creating that environment of, oh, I'm gonna get that because he got that, and then they don't get it and they're upset. With all that said, though, I did get lucky in that last summoning video, for sure.
Yeah, so we talked about that off camera just before this, and yeah, it's an interesting thing, because for me, I'm just starving to get that content out, so it hadn't crossed my mind, but it makes perfect sense, because you don't want to paint an incomplete picture, and then people are like, oh, then they've got that itch, and they're like, oh, it's just one more summon, and then I'll get that Ash luck. So it's important to see that, no, you've done, like you just said, 500 ancient summons. I'm at like 140 or 50. So that's how much, and we just actually compared. My account's like 1 month older than yours, and obviously all my ancient summons are free to play. I get my diamond.
Show me your heroes, by the way, in the background.
Sure,
I'm kind of curious. Inquiring minds want to know,
But yeah, you can get lucky or you can get unlucky, and it's as simple as that. So speaking of ancient summons, I got Pelagios, I got Ardia,
and I don't. It's rigged.
yeah, but people don't remember.
That's 500. What the heck?
People don't remember all the sessions I've had where I get no legendaries at all, or how it's been 4.5 months since I got my last legendary lord, my only legendary lord, Morrigan. People remember the good stuff.
Oh, that's your only one?
My only one, and I've done. Let me show you, Ash. You're not going to believe this, because I do a lot of summons. I've done 4,800 summons, and I have one.
Oh my god,
legendary
I didn't
lord.
realize it had that.
Yeah,
okay.
Now we know.
Okay, well, I've done 7,600.
70. Ooh la la. Yeah, so I mean, someone just told me yesterday on stream they had 12. They said there were some dupes, but they had pulled 6 worth of legendary lords. They had 4, and 2 of them were at A1, and they were at 2,400 summons. So half of me with 6 times as many.
Whoa.
So they pulled 12 times more frequently. So that just gives you perspective, right? And it's kind of like a bit of a confirmation bias thing. So people are remembering your 3 and 10. They're not remembering what I'm sure have been enormous streaks of nothing. Granted, pretty lucky. No question about that.
Well, here's a question for you. You would know this, right?
Please.
Is that all these games have, like, in a way, you could say it is rigged, I feel like, because all these games have like these little mechanics, little percentages, little, caveats that are not apparent to anybody just playing the game, right? Unless a YouTube or a content creator or somebody tells you, right? Yeah. So, because I've seen even you, I haven't watched, maybe you made a video, maybe you didn't, but like I've seen videos come across my feed of like the rates are rigged or what they're not telling you about the real percentages and stuff like that. Totally. So like in a different way, is it rigged or is it inaccurate? I guess is that
great. Yeah, you know what it is? I would say it's a dishonest portrayal. Is what I would do, because something I do, and I'm sure you do, because you're amazing at this kind of stuff, making very accessible content. Not to toot your horn even more, but I'm not going to stop doing that. It's about remembering not everyone has an equal understanding of math or knowledge about the game or this, that, and the other. So you got to cater to not a lowest common denominator, but a very approachable amount of information and presentation of information, right? And that's something I try to do in my content. Maybe if it seems like I'm dumbing down math, it's not. It's because I want to make it accessible to people. That's something the game's not doing, right? Because it doesn't take a brainiac to know. If I see this and I see 0.46%, this is normal banner, right? It's not banner time right now. This is your typical Invocation of Spirits. If I see 0.46% and then I see all these heroes, we could count it all. I guess I will. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's 9 times 4 is 36, 37 normal heroes. I think it's going to be 0.46% divided by 37, and that's how they distribute the rates. That is not how it works in this game. So while it's technically not rigged or deceitful inherently, because it doesn't state this is evenly distributed, I don't think I'm wrong in saying, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, there's a clear implication that it seems like, all right, so this is a shared rate, But I'll just tell you right now, I actually have the numbers. The video I'm filming right after this, Ash, is going to be on the Should You Summon on this upcoming banner. And I'll tell you right now, I'll give people, this will come out after, but people already have seen it. I'll have it in the video. Hex right now, during the 10x starting tomorrow, will have a 16.359% chance to be pulled. That's with the 10x. Pharisee, also a hero, same rarity, will have a 20.319% chance. It's just not the same. Setram will have a 0.744% chance of being pulled. This is assuming you pull a legendary, whereas Ezreal will have a 2.032% chance.
Why don't they put the real numbers? That is a little riggy. It's a little riggy,
right? if it's not rigged, it's not. Maybe it's rigged adjacent. It's rig-ish.
Yeah, there we go. Maybe it's a little bit of a strong word, but Yeah, I don't like that. I just would rather
So
know the
the thing
actual number,
I
I
have,
guess, right?
so I started. Now we have the data from the game file. Shout out to T, the guy
Yeah.
working with us, doing incredible stuff and many more things to come. Nice little plug. But what I will say is, we've done community source projects for so long. We started the Epic Drop Days project back in October to prove this stuff and prove what we all knew to be true. But it's different between knowing something and proving something. And I've been saying since those first videos, I'm not angry at Moonton. I don't need Hotsit to be as common as Cratch. They just need to tell us. And I honestly don't think it would hurt sales for 1 second. If anything, people will get really excited when they get Hotsit because they know she's even rare. Now we know her base rate is 0.75%, right? She's in a rarity of her own. I don't know if you saw my video on that, but I don't think that adds any issue to it. It actually might add a little bit of sanity and a little bit of excitement on the same token. Just by transparency is a helpful thing in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too, whatever over the top with it, but it's like, it's deceptive is what it is. And, just out of curiosity, is there like one epic who is head and shoulders above the rest, more difficult to get?
Interesting thing is it's all buckets, which I presumed, and the buckets are much bigger than I thought. So there certainly is a bucket in which Estrid and Deimos and Hollow they are in that bucket. There's certainly another bucket with like Vortex and Idril, which is very common. But no, like, and this is actually a great way to circle back to the whole confirmation bias thing. Everyone thinks Azor is the most common hero in the game, or Cratch, or so on and so on. Actually, they're in the same bucket as heroes like Nocturne and Silas and Calypso. Really good heroes, right? They are correct in thinking those guys are way more common than Arrogance, or way more common than Salazar, who I know you actually don't even have,
Indeed. There are some heroes I don't have. Yeah.
Their bucket, and then there's literally a Hotsit bucket that is all Hotsit's own, with how rare she is.
Oh my god.
Yeah, she's got a rate all her own when it comes to normal heroes. So people are right in thinking that way.
Yeah. Is Boreas in the hardest to get category?
He's in the normal hard bucket. The one with Arrogance and everybody. He's not in the Hotsit craziness. I'll tell you one more thing, though, that they do is Ancient Summons, and I don't think this is a coincidence, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I bet you don't know this. Ancient Summons are perfectly evenly distributed, and I wonder if that's because that's where people are putting out the big bucks and might be more inclined to throw a fit. So the way Ancient Summons works is there's only 4 heroes in the game that are rarer, and I'll tell you them right now, and it's going to surprise you, unless, I mean, people could figure out the hard about it. Yeah, so those 4...
I only want to guess one.
Yeah.
I heard that like Gon is the hardest to get.
So actually, again, no, but that's a totally different thing. That's
see, look at this.
Yeah, that's because he's a legendary lord. But there's another thing. Yeah, so we'll save that for another day. But I'll just talk about normal heroes. So we're talking about our Ardios or our Pelagios or our Thalen, right? So we have our ancient exclusives. There's only 4 heroes in the whole game that have lower rates than those. The rest are all even, and those actually are Constance, Valkyra, Valeria, wherever she is, and where is he? Cerberus. And the reason for that is those are available in normal summons, so they rightfully are knowing people might be a little more annoyed if they get a normal hero from an ancient exclusive legendary, so they did suppress the rates. So they're aware of these things, but actually it's much more common to get an Ardia or a Thalen or Eunomia than it is to get someone like Valkyra, who to some people might be less exciting because she's more common. So in some places they're doing the fair thing, other places maybe they're not. I don't think anyone give a crap as long as we had a transparent thing going on. What do you think?
As long as you tell us. Yeah, right. And then they can also publish the YouTubers' rigged rates too. We all have our own, I heard. I heard them in my own bucket.
But yeah, the final thing I wanted to touch about here, it's a bit of a transition, but I was wondering if it's rigged, if it's uneven, if the Ash rates are, a 30x on Hotsit or whatever people want to say. How do you think that plays into with the disparity we're seeing with heroes, and then maybe potential angst that has been started to fester and might continue to develop? So I'm speaking to Boreas and Paratus, people I've made a lot of heroes I made a lot of videos about, and many other creators as well. I mean, you've had as much experience in the gacha space as basically anyone with a lot of these games you played. What do you think about power creep, and then how that involves when there's this gambling, rigged rates element, slot machine thing? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, what a loaded question, man. I think that, first of all, well, it's loaded because this is the crappiest answer in the history of all answers to any question, but it's kind of like the nature of the beast a little bit, with these games, like the way that they make money is enticing their spenders to want to be excited to spend more on something. And if you constantly release heroes or champions that are on roughly the same level, maybe a little bit below, whatever, or fall within that range, then you don't get, especially your whales and your krakens, spending more and more money to try to get these heroes. So I think that for that reason, I don't think it's going to go anywhere, right?
Certainly.
That being said, it can be mitigated, right? It can be mitigated by continuing to give really amazing free heroes, not the same old, not the Maris and the Wraths and the Ologs, even though they're great. But as they release, you know, these awesome Supreme Arbiters or whatever, give more mechanisms. Like, for example, there's a collab in Raid right now where everybody gets a free, you know, champion, Rathalos, Blade Master, right? And they keep basically doing that, but they keep making those free champions that they add in every time they add a new batch of power crept, you know, busted champions. They keep adding like even better free champions along the way. I think that mitigates some of the pain of power creep, but at the same time, you also have to, it's a thin line. You have to also be very careful that you're not going too extreme and too far in the type of heroes that you're adding to the game. I've seen like a billion videos talking about Boris or Boreas or whatever you want to call his name. Does he need a nerf or not? I saw that like CB did one yesterday. I saw more.
We don't say that word on my channel. We say cushion.
Yeah, well, it's a weird one for me, right? There's no doubt that like he changed the game, because I used to use comment all the time and I never really use him that much, you know, like, so, and he was one of the best mages in the game, right? Before that, well, he still is, you know, but I guess what my point is that whether or not you think he needs a nerf or not, in these games, I think it's generally an incredibly bad practice to nerf heroes. I think that the best thing you can do is buff instead, right?
Exactly.
So like, if you bring out somebody who's absolutely broken, I don't expect them to come in and buff everybody immediately, but I think the best way to go about it is to give buffs, because in a game that is so expensive to collect these, or you have to get incredibly lucky if you're not spending to collect some of these really sought after heroes, the worst thing the developer can do, even if it's justified, is nerf them, man. Like, there's no worse feeling than finally getting your hands on that, whoever it is, that Vierna, and then being like, you know what, Vierna's a little bit too powerful. And you're like, what?
I guess to bring it back to the whole rig conversation, I couldn't agree more with like maintaining viable free options or very affordable options, or however you want to view it. I think the other thing would be is make sure you don't do something that some games do where they keep introducing content that only the new overpowered power creep hero is the answer to. So this is actually,
I agree.
I don't always give Raid its flowers, but I will do it on this. They've done a good job, or at least they did for the 3+ years I played, of maintaining some of those OG awesome heroes, letting them maintain their relevance, you know, and not just having, oh, bad Alcazar doesn't work anymore, or so on and so on, right? So I think that's something, as long as they remain mindful of that, and maybe that's a positive rework or a buff here and there, but certainly nothing's going to sour people on a game like they pull Boreas free to play. They invest all this stuff in him, right? That's really hard to come by. We were just talking about legendary skill crystals on your channel, and the next thing you know, not really usable or not as viable anymore. That's going to feel like a big waste. So don't rig it with content. I think a lot of what they're doing is great. To make it perfectly clear, a lot of the stuff at the beginning was jokes. Ash's account is not rigged. You're just a lucky ducky, and you've also pulled 500 times, and we're remembering one temple.
First of all, rewinding, I agree 100%, man. I think that is a tricky thing to do. Basically making because when I started playing Raid, you said you played 3 years ago, so like everybody wanted like Raglan and Tyrell, right?
Yeah.
And those two particular champions, you might not know what they are, but like they're still good, but they're not the best anymore. You know, they're not the best, but they were the best of the best. But they're still relevant, and they can still help out players on any account, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, like when I started playing on like a chosen tier list or whatever, this would have been in 2019, Tyrell was like a top 3 epic in the game. And now maybe he's, I don't know where the game's at now, maybe he's top 30, but that's because there's a million epics. And
maybe top 100.
Top 100, fine. Okay, I don't know how big the game, but you know what I mean? He's usable. As opposed to, you know,
he is usable for sure.
If they introduce people, and then I always talk about evergreen heroes, and you want your heroes, especially the good ones, to have some evergreen quality that you know you can invest in them and you're not going to be regretting it in a few months.
Final question for you, for me, is because I don't know the full history of what Moonton has done, have they nerfed heroes at all? If so, like, has it been frequent? Has it been... Because I don't remember them doing any in the last 5-6 months.
There's no obvious nerf that they have done. They've had some very bad reworks and buffs that I didn't think were very helpful. I don't know if you know, but I'm getting a tattoo of Cratch, and I was saying, hey, they're planning a rework of him, and I said, if you're gonna do that, can you make the rework slightly better? Like, at least make him a D or a C hero, not an F.
Right, dude? He's, I
yeah.
mean, like, he's all right in Tide, but he sucks everywhere else, right? For the most part, maybe Trial,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's like with heroes like that, they designed to be bad. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But no, there's no certainly there's no obvious nerf that comes to mind.
Would you buff Boreas or whatever?
Buff him?
Or would you? I'm sorry. Would you nerf him?
No. What I would do is, you know what? Maybe it's not a nerf. It'd be a rework. I would do something for Arena. So maybe that's will be my final thought on this, and like kind of have rigged feeling heroes. And you know, Boreas is, as I rank him as probably the 4th or 5th best hero in the game. I rank him as far and away the #1 progression hero in the game. So when I do my rankings, they're with endgame in mind. But if I'm talking about, hey, I'm starting an account, I actually just farmed this account up, so that can be another little plug where I'm going to see how fast I can beat all stage 18 gear raids with just Boreas. We made sure he was the first hero. We kept re-rolling. We had a little team going.
Oh my god!
And it will be not weeks, it will be days. I will promise you that right now.
Ooh, I can't wait for that one.
It'll
man.
be fun.
That would be cool.
But what I will say is the problem is in PvP where people go in and they're like, Boreas is on every team. It's not fair. And it isn't really fair the way his mechanic works. There's no way the devs intended it that way. So to me, that's not like a nerf as much as, maybe I said the word, but that's not like such a negative as much as that's a rebalance. And then maybe you give him a passive that says his massive damage that hits on a 64 squares on the map, maybe make it 36 squares. You know, he can still be amazing. He would still be a top hero, but he doesn't have to be a lot of people, especially unless they're at very high level, they'll just ignore Boreas teams because they don't have the DPS to compete.
No, that's a good point, and I agree. If you ever feel like it's absolutely necessary, and I wonder what you think the majority of the community would be in favor for. Again, I'm anti-nerf for the reasons that we already spoke about. In these type of games, in particular, like totally free games, whatever, I think they need to be superly, balanced, right? But like in a game like this, I also think though that if you are going to nerf, it should be really, really small. Yes. You should try to nerf through buffs, like make more other viable counterplay or whatever.
I'll tell you a good example actually for Raid when they nerfed. We'll just say the word now. It's the cat's out of the bag with Rhodos. That made me very angry. Because he was a free-to-play hero. He's a fusion. He wasn't bad anymore, but they certainly took him out a major notch. Was he overpowered? Sure. But Raid, you can run multiple heroes, and many people had built out and skilled 2 Rhodos, and that's just not fair. So they wasted it double, and that I think is corny.
They've got away from nerfs as well, though, which is pretty. I mean, they've only done one last year, and it was very controversial.
The nerf is a lazy solution. It really is.
It is. I agree.
Totally. So in conclusion, we are certain there's a guy in Shanghai wearing head-to-toe Ash merch, pressing the 50x rates button. That's how we're gonna end this, right?
Yeah, I keep that 50x button finger strong guy in Shanghai.
A5 Ardia, here we come. Ash, thank you so much for coming. And guys, if you've been living under a Watcher of Realms rock and you haven't watched Ash's stuff, it's the most entertaining stuff in the space, so don't miss out on that. And if you hate him but you love me, at least watch our collab.
Fair enough. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Guys, if you like it, comment, subscribe, share it with your mother. I'll see you in the next one.
Fastidious.